Hi, I'm Jeff. Today, we're diving into a topic that's both chilling and fascinating: the mind of a serial killer. What really drives someone to commit such horrifying acts? Is it a twisted upbringing, a genetic predisposition, or something far more complex? Stay with me as we uncover the dark psychology behind some of the most notorious serial killers in history. You might think you know what makes them tick, but trust me, the reality is far more unsettling. Imagine this: a person who seems perfectly normal on the surface, blending into society, holding down a job, maybe even raising a family. But beneath that ordinary exterior lies a mind wired differently, a mind capable of committing the most heinous acts imaginable. What's truly terrifying is how many of these individuals lead double lives, hiding their true nature from everyone around them. But how does someone end up like this? Is it nature, nurture, or a deadly combination of both? One of the first things to understand is that not all serial killers fit the same mold. In fact, psychologists categorize them into different types based on their motivations and methods. There are those driven by power and control, who seek dominance over their victims. Then there are the visionary killers, who claim they're compelled by voices or supernatural forces. Some kill for financial gain, while others are motivated purely by lust or a twisted sense of pleasure. But what's the common thread that ties them all together? One theory suggests that serial killers often possess a particular cluster of personality traits that makes them fundamentally different from most people. These traits include a lack of empathy, an inflated sense of self-worth, and a desire for control. In many cases, they also display signs of psychopathy or sociopathy. But does that mean every psychopath is a potential killer? The answer might surprise you. Psychopathy and sociopathy are often used interchangeably, but they're not the same. Psychopaths are typically more calculated and manipulative, appearing charming and even likable. They can mimic human emotions convincingly. Sociopaths, on the other hand, are more prone to impulsive behaviour and may have a harder time fitting into social norms. Both, however, lack the empathy that keeps most people from causing harm. But not all psychopaths or sociopaths become killers. So, what makes the difference? Here's where the story takes a darker turn. Studies have shown that many serial killers have a history of severe childhood trauma. Abuse, neglect, or witnessing violence can warp a developing mind, leading to a fractured sense of morality and a desire to regain control. Imagine growing up in an environment where violence is normalized, where pain and power become intertwined. It's a grim reality that some of the most notorious killers have faced. Take the case of Ted Bundy, for example. On the outside, he was charming, intelligent, and socially adept, but Bundy himself admitted that his violent tendencies had roots in his early exposure to graphic material and a turbulent childhood. Yet countless others experienced similar hardships without becoming violent criminals. So, why did Bundy's mind take such a dark path? Here's where it gets even more complex. Some researchers argue that biology plays a crucial role. Brain scans of known serial killers have shown abnormalities in the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for impulse control and moral reasoning. Could it be that some people are born with a predisposition to violence? And if so, does that make them destined to become killers? But there's a twist. Not every person with a brain abnormality becomes violent, and not every violent person has a detectable brain difference. This raises a compelling question. Could it be the interaction between biology and life experiences that creates the perfect storm? One study found that individuals with a genetic predisposition to aggression were more likely to exhibit violent behaviour if they had also faced severe childhood trauma. It's as if the two factors ignite a dangerous spark when combined. But what about those who kill without any apparent reason? Those who claim they felt nothing as they took another person's life? Are they simply born without a conscience, or is there something deeper at play? As we explore more notorious cases, you'll start to see a pattern emerge. A pattern that challenges our understanding of good and evil. Stay with me, because up next, we'll dive into one of the most perplexing questions. Can a serial killer ever truly feel remorse? Or is their conscience completely absent? You won't want to miss this. So, can a serial killer ever feel remorse? The answer isn't as straightforward as you might think. While many serial killers claim they feel nothing for their victims, there are some who, at least outwardly, express regret. The question is, are they genuinely remorseful, or is it just another manipulation tactic? Understanding this requires digging deeper into the mind of a killer. Take the case of Dennis Rader, known as the BTK killer. After his arrest, Rader appeared to show signs of regret during court proceedings. He spoke about his family, his faith, and even shed tears. But psychologists suggest that his so-called remorse was more about his own predicament rather than genuine empathy for his victims. It's a chilling reminder that even when they express guilt, serial killers may be more concerned with their own suffering than that of others. But how do they justify their actions to themselves? For some, it's about power, the feeling of controlling life and death. For others, it's a compulsion, something they feel driven to do without fully understanding why. This internal conflict can sometimes lead to contradictions, where a killer both revels in their crimes and struggles to rationalize them. But does this inner turmoil mean they're human after all, or just masters of deception? Here's a disturbing thought. Some killers genuinely believe they're justified. They create complex narratives in their minds where their actions are not only acceptable, but necessary. This form of cognitive distortion allows them to continue their violent behaviour without being plagued by guilt. Imagine living in a reality where your twisted moral code makes sense only to you. It's a terrifying insight into how the human mind can warp under certain conditions. Then there's the question of rehabilitation. Can a serial killer ever truly change? In most cases, the answer is no. The deep-seated traits associated with psychopathy, like a lack of empathy and manipulative tendencies, are notoriously resistant to change. Even when incarcerated, many killers continue to manipulate those around them, showing little to no genuine remorse. This raises profound ethical questions about how society should deal with such individuals. Some experts believe that focusing on early intervention could prevent potential killers from crossing the line. Identifying warning signs in childhood, such as cruelty to animals, persistent lying, and lack of empathy, might help address the root causes before they manifest in violence. But is it really possible to predict who will become a killer? The debate continues, with no clear consensus in sight. But here's the most unsettling realization. Not all killers fit the classic mold of a loner or social outcast. Some are charismatic, well-liked, and seemingly normal. This duality makes them even more dangerous because they can easily blend into society. The case of John Wayne Gacy, the so-called killer clown, is a prime example. A respected community member by day and a sadistic murderer by night. How can someone live such a double life without arousing suspicion? One factor that makes this possible is their ability to compartmentalize, separating their violent urges from their everyday persona. This mental partition allows them to switch between the roles of predator and civilian seamlessly. It's a psychological defense mechanism that, while disturbing, also makes them incredibly difficult to detect. How do you spot a monster who wears the mask of an ordinary person? And then, there's the media's role in shaping our perception of serial killers. Sometimes the way these individuals are portrayed can almost glamorize their actions, turning them into infamous legends rather than reviled criminals. This can create a dangerous fascination that fuels copycat crimes. The myth of the criminal mastermind often overshadows the brutal reality of their acts. But what can we do to protect ourselves from these hidden predators? Experts suggest staying aware of the signs of manipulation and not falling for charming facades without looking deeper. It's not about living in fear, but rather understanding that evil can sometimes look deceptively normal. The truth is, the mind of a serial killer remains one of the darkest enigmas of human psychology. Even after decades of research, we're still piecing together the puzzle, trying to understand what truly drives someone to cross the line into such unimaginable violence. Is it nature, nurture, or a lethal mix of both? The debate will likely continue as long as the human mind remains an imperfect, unpredictable force. If you're fascinated by these dark psychological mysteries, make sure to stick around. There's so much more to uncover, and each case brings new insights into the twisted pathways of the human brain. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss our latest deep dives into the minds of those who walk the darkest paths. Thanks for watching.